Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Hustle and Hoops offseason preview. The season is officially over. Congratulations to the NBA champion Golden State Warriors, four-time champs in the last 6 years. Very well deserved. But
Golf claps.
it's now time to talk about the offseason preview, and this is a special edition of the podcast. It's made specifically for YouTube. It's still obviously on Spotify and Apple or Anchor if you're listening through there. But if you want the best experience listening to it, I'd recommend going to YouTube because we have a great visual presentation to go side by side. And fellas, who else but to start with for our first preview, especially one prior to the NBA draft, than the team that had all of our hearts from the start, the Detroit Pistons, the Motor City team, our home team. And without further ado, I'll give it to the mastermind of the presentation to kick us off for this week's episode. Dove, take it away.
All right, y'all. So here we go. I went with a little video game format. I thought that'd be fun. I don't know how much the rest of the presentation really follows that, but let's hit start. Let's get right into it. Detroit Pistons 2022-2023 NBA offseason preview. Welcome, guys. We only got a few days left until the draft, but let's focus first on our team, on our core pieces. In our opinion, at least in my opinion, these really are our four primary top guys. You know, there are a few other guys that are important to the squad as well, but obviously it all starts with our number one draft pick, Cade Cunningham, Cartier Cade, Icewood, Motorcade. Tell me, guys, just, hearing the name Cade Cunningham, what does that bring to you guys emotionally as Detroit fans, Detroit basketball, sports fans in general? How does that make you feel that we can say that we have Cade Cunningham?
Never say Cartier Cade again.
He's that guy. He's that guy. Looking forward to a bright future for the lads down here in Detroit. So Cade Cunningham is obviously the center of that. And he should have been the rookie of the year, obviously. The media thinks differently, but he was the best rookie.
Fact, that's fact. Duve, any initial thoughts?
I would agree. And I would like to first shout out Doug because this is a great format. Thank you for making this.
Facts.
And just going off the Cade thing, when we hear his name, we just think franchise. That's what I think. He is our core. He's our star. Sadiq is growing into a star. I will say that. But right now, Cade's our star, and he's just got to keep coming into his own going into next season. And he's the future of our team. Everyone knows it. So just keep coming along, and that's what I want from him. That's what we need.
Fair. Shoe, anything before we actually get into this on Cade?
I mean, if we're just talking Cade,
we're just talking Cade for a
minute.
The future. Just a quick Cade minute.
He's the future. He is definitely the future. A full season with a full supporting cast around him is something I'm very much looking forward to, is all I'll say.
All right. Well, now that we're looking at it, obviously we're not perfect as a squad. We have holes. We have some things going on, but as a core, how do you see, these guys meshing? What do you think, at least going into next year, off season aside, what we'll do in free agency and the draft? How do you see Cade, Sadiq, Isaiah, and Killian kind of meshing and moving on and growing into this next year as kind of a as the original guys? Next year there's a strong chance that the four of these guys, among a few others, will be some of the few guys left from, the roster from last year. So I don't know.
That's facts. I mean, we'll get into some questions about who we want to keep later, but these are our four guys. And this season, I'm looking for a big improvement by Killian Hayes, because we all know Cade is going to be great. Sadiq's going to be lights out, and Isaiah Stewart's going to bring you that physicality. But Killian's kind of that question mark where he was a top 10 pick. He's been decent, but not great for where he was picked at. And we don't really know where he's going to go from this last season. Obviously, he's been injured too, but I'm looking for him to step it up this next year.
I would definitely agree. And you pose an interesting question, Doug, on how they're gonna mesh. Sorry, and I don't know because I'm agreeing here with Mindy. Killian is our biggest question mark, and we saw when he was healthy this year, he was coming off the bench a lot, not really playing with Cade as much, and like Mindy said, like this season, we want to see a lot more out of him, a lot more output, and maybe finding a jump shot. I don't know. And I really want to see him be able to play alongside Cade because we know Cade will be our primary ball handler. So it's going to be on Killian to really form into a new role. And if we want to move him to a backup point guard role and he can thrive in that position, I would be fine with that as well. But I would definitely agree here. Like the Cade, Sadiq, and Isaiah, they've already cemented themselves as like they're gonna be here. And Killian, he's still that question mark because he was a top 10 pick. And we I don't know, it's like we've spent a lot of time with him, and this would probably, for me, I would say this would be like our last question mark year. And if he can't solidify a role, then we'd probably look to the trading aspect of it.
I think I'm gonna have a lot to say here. I look at Sadiq Bey's little biography that written by Dov Mandel, and I see that after he dropped his career high 51 points, he channeled his inner the Joker. And I just gotta say, I think I might be the Joker of this podcast because I'm gonna have some shit to say about these guys. I think Sadiq Bey is a beast. I will first and foremost. He is a certified hooper. He needs to be a starter. He's a 20 to 25 point per guy scorer. Like he is that guy. The other two guys, I don't know if they fit on a playoff Detroit Pistons roster as a stars/core/pieces, if I'm being honest. I think Beef Stew might be an odd man out. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I don't trust him offensively. I don't trust him defensively. He loses cool a little too much. I like his grittiness, but grittiness itself doesn't win championships. And I'm sorry if I sound a little quiet. I don't know why, but I just want to know what you guys think about that. Like,
it's a good point.
I don't see
Say it with your
What we
chest.
think about you being a little quiet, I think you need to speak up.
About
but
beef,
I think
about Beef Stew, Beef Stew, like everyone wants Aiton. Where does that leave Stu? Like Stu can't just slide into the 4. Like that's not
he slides into the 6-man role. He's that.
Yeah.
Like does that mean you're taking
6,
away minutes
7.
from your big ticket free agent? Like does that turn him into a 14-minute per game guy? Like I don't think Beef Stew's gonna like that.
I mean,
Like what are you gonna do with him? Like
if you're giving Aiton, for example, if that's the guy, which we can get into this in more detail later, but if you're getting a guy like Aiton, you're giving him 30 minutes a game, something like that.
33.
That still gives Stu, like, I mean, depending on the other
they're not gonna share the
bigs you
floor.
sign. No, they're not going to share the floor. No one is asking them to share the floor, but you give them like a cool 20 something. I am very cool with
That's
that.
not how math works.
If he can, what do you mean?
It's 15. If
you get,
30,
yeah, like
15,
if you get,
yeah, you're right. You're right. That's not how math works. But like 30,
okay,
I'll give him like a cool, close to 20, and then depending on how Aiton does, or depending on how Stu does, because he has somewhat shown us a jump shot here and there, a little bit at the end of the season last year, and then 2 years ago there was there's a little bit. I don't know. I don't disagree with you that I can't necessarily trust him as our starting center. I think that's, in my opinion, way bigger of an issue than the Killian Hayes thing. Not to
I didn't even
necessarily
touch on
disagree
Killian,
with you, dude. But
I'm the
I think
Joker, baby.
Stu, I think the starting center thing, having a big man, a real big man, is the biggest issue going into that. And that's kind of where I was leading at with that kind of mesh question. And
Well,
Duve was getting there.
Wait,
Duve,
I didn't say it was the biggest issue. I just said Killian was the
biggest question mark. Biggest question
And I
mark. Yeah,
agreed
yeah.
with Mindy.
Sorry, rephrase.
Well,
Biggest
that's
question
why I
mark
don't think
is
I don't think
having a
Stu is
center,
question mark.
having a
I
big
don't
man.
think Stu is gonna really change that much. I think a lot of people just see Ben Wallace 1.5, not 2.0. You did not hear me wrong. I think they see a gritty,
1.25.
yeah, a gritty, undersized big man wearing the red, white, and blue, and say this guy can lead us to the promised land. And with all due respect, this guy is not Ben Wallace. He's a different animal. He's a good player, but 7-7 from your starting center is not championship material. And if I think I want Killian Hayes to be good.
It's facts.
On paper, Killian Hayes, 6'7" point guard, dirty handles, like good finishing ability, like
very, very
19
good
years
defender.
old.
Very,
On
very
paper.
good defender.
On paper, he's got all the tools to be successful in the NBA. He's had 2 years. He couldn't stay healthy. He's had
1
bad
year.
supporting casts. This was his second season.
Yeah, and he only missed a few games this year. What was it, like 10,
I think he probably missed like 20.
More.
15?
Yeah, I
He
would say
played-
20.
20. Wait,
played
20. He played like
66
60.
games.
He played,
Yeah.
yeah.
He
you're
lost
right.
his starting spot when he was out.
So like he obviously hasn't had the best supporting cast, but like, and he's also very young. But the thing about the NBA is you don't have time to like teams, especially your first team. They're not gonna have the patience with you if they're trying to win. Like the Pistons are gonna start trying to win. They've been losing for too long to be patient with a 20-year-old who's shown flashes and has the physicality side. So if Killian Hayes can't perform, especially with their new 5th overall pick, whatever else they do in the offseason, sign a max guy, it's time. Like he's got to go too. Like the guy, like Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart giving you a combined 45 minutes, like being modest, probably like even like if they signed Ayton, like they're probably still going to get 45 minutes combined. Giving you 15 and 15 is not going to cut it from guys who are getting solid rotational minutes. That's like, I think when you see these 1, 2, 3, 4, I think the 1 and 2 here to stay.
Oh, this is
3
not
and
in any
4
kind of order, by
are
the way.
gone.
I realized that as I was making it, that the numbers made it seem like it was
No,
in an order.
I'm not addressing them in order.
Yeah, it's not in an
yeah.
order, by the way, for anyone seeing this. It is definitely not in any. Well, I mean, somewhat is, but not really.
But I mean, like I said, I saw Sadiq Bey says he's going to be the Joker. I'm going to be the
That's-
Joker
that's
a little
not
bit. I think the Pistons. It's time to say goodbye to Killian and Stu if you want to win.
I mean, I agree with the point, especially if we get a free agent center like Ayton, that Isaiah Stewart cannot share the floor with him. It's that simple, unless he comes back next year with a jump shot. But with Killian right now, I maybe after next year get rid of him, but by no means this season should we get rid of him because we're not really going to get shit for him.
Yeah, that's true. I'm more
Also,
patient.
who else?
And
Sure.
he's still
Oh,
young.
sorry. Who else on our bench? Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson. Do you want Saban Lee? Do you want being our backup PG?
I mean, I'm not with all due respect, Dove.
You're turning into Mark Jackson. You're not turning into the Joker, bro.
Killian Hayes was not drafted to be a pure backup point guard. If that's what he turns out to be, if he turns out to be like a Tyus Jones, like Ricky Rubio off the bench, like if he can, I see your baby Ricky Rubio. Like if he can give you those solid, consistent minutes, you know what you're getting every game. Like I'm all for it. But if there's one thing Killian Hayes has not been in his 2-year tenure, it's consistent.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if
That's fair.
like obviously if he's like he obviously his trade values in the toilet. But I'm all for him proving himself. I definitely have more patience with Killian than I do with Stu. Because like I just see these people on Twitter, or like people just saying like, yeah, we'll sign Ayton, move Stu to the bench. I'm like, why? Like they don't both fit on this team. Like they just don't. Like Stewart was your starting center for 2 seasons. You drafted him with your first round pick. or with one of your first round picks, and you're just gonna say, "Yeah, Stu, hit the bench." Like, that's
Let's
not gonna
go.
fly.
I'll go unbiased for 1 second. I'll admit that as bad as it sounds, the game in Stewart's hole or the pause.
What?
The
What?
hole in Stewart's game is his offense. Sorry. He really can't do that much on the offensive side.
No.
He doesn't have a low post game. He doesn't have a high post game. He doesn't have a mid post game. He doesn't have a 3-point shot that we have seen besides, here and there,
Yeah.
maybe once or twice. His free throw percentages aren't great. He doesn't have much, you don't want ball handling ability from your center, but he doesn't have that. I'm not necessarily seeing him on the offensive side and saying, oh, maybe he feels like a Draymond Green facilitator type role. Like, I don't see that in him.
Nope.
So I'll admit, unbiased, I don't know what his role is with the Pistons, but I also, back to being a biased Pistons fan, can't say that I want him just gone this offseason because I don't know what that is. I think just because you don't know what it is, or you don't believe that he can, mold into what you can't see or what you think, it's supposed to be, doesn't mean that there is some role that Casey or Weaver or whatever finds for him.
I'm just saying, like, if you sign someone like, there's no one like Ayton. It's Ayton. If you sign Ayton, Stu's gone. But if you can't sign Ayton, please don't go out. We'll get into. We should probably move on from.
Yeah, we should
the current
move on
Pistons.
if we're gonna.
But I
If
was
we're
gonna
gonna
say,
move into that.
like I'll kind of just lead into this to the next thing. Like, not like I'll allude to it later, but I'll say, like, you shouldn't go and sign someone like Mitchell Robinson, because like Stu is.
You're saying if you want Stewart
Stu,
as
yeah, like you like go all in on Stu, and like that's obviously a different story, and we'll get into that momentarily.
All right. Well, that's our little preview of the team itself. Some pieces that we actually didn't talk about at all, obviously, since these four are here, and there are a lot of other small side pieces, but throw these in here real quick just to remind you guys of who we are. So stop talking shit about us.
Shouts out Mike
please.
Abdenauer.
As you can see,
That's
the players that I was talking about, you got your Corey Josephs, your Jeremy Grant's, and your Kelly Olynyk's.
Kelly.
I am not. Jeremy Grant's the exception,
Kelly
but
Olynyk.
of these three players, I'm not a fan of two of them, and I just said who the one was.
Is that Kevin Love in the hat on the screen?
That's Yusuf
don't-
Nurkic
Yeah.
and Josh Hart. I don't know where you got
Oh, Kevin Love's got
Kevin
that
Love.
beard,
I don't know if there's like a
white.
discoloration.
It seems like
Kevin Love is
something
not
Kevin Love would
ginger,
wear.
is he?
Is that like ginger? It looks brown to me.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just my screen. I don't
Kevin
know.
Love is low
But
key
anyways.
ginger too.
No, he is not.
No,
He's
He's a
not.
low key
He's
ginger.
not ginger. He's not
Kevin
even
Love is a
close
lot
to
skinnier
ginger.
than
like
that.
an auburn, like a nice auburn beard.
No, he's like the most. Nah. Okay, we're not talking about Kevin Love's hair right now. All right.
I'm the
So-
Choka baby.
So
You remember that Minnesota Timberwolves center?
Nikola Pekovic.
Pekovic. That's who
I
it looks
saw,
like.
I saw his highlight
Yeah,
reel on Twitter the other
That looks
day.
like Pekovic. Shouts
Anyways.
A
out.
my team beast.
anyways, Jeremy
Yes.
Grant, Kelly Olynyk, and others being our kind of
Others.
it's like I don't feel
Yes.
like, being the pieces that we can move now. Obviously, it's something I forgot to mention while writing this is that Corey Joseph has a player option.
He's opting in.
And he's obviously going to opt
How
in.
much?
So scratch him. It's $5 million, 5 something,
Okay.
5.3, something like that. I still don't
Fine.
want that. I still don't want
Yeah.
that.
Don't want it, but it's not.
And then
terrible.
Frank Jackson is a team option, and Hami is a team option. So, but
Like
he's.
one
I mean, he's
contract
a.
for
Sorry,
Hami.
he's a qualifying offer.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Hami?
So not a. Yeah.
Again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Again? I thought he
Again.
signed a qualifying offer. We signed.
I
him to a
thought he
real
did
contract.
last year.
Don't ask me. Hami is
Okay.
100%
All right.
a restricted free agent this
All right.
offseason.
No shit. Okay.
Maybe
All
I'm
right, no,
wrong.
I
I,
believe
don't
you,
know.
believe you,
I don't.
believe
I
you,
said
believe you,
100%,
believe
but
you.
you know
No,
I'm a
you're
liar.
right.
I believe you.
You're right.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Anyways, just looking at these pieces, we're not going to necessarily talk about, the impact of what we bring in, more looking at what we're sending out and what you think we'd actually be trading this offseason. Do you see any of these pieces? Do you see a Jeremy Grant getting traded? Do you see a Kelly Olynyk getting traded? What do you guys think?
I mean, at this point for Jeremy Grant, it's kind of 50-50 in my mind. Because like we were talking about last week with the Christian Wood trade, we don't know what the value is like out there right now. But I said this the day he got signed, and I would be a huge fan of him this season. But Kelly Olynyk is here to stay for 1 year. He's gone, I hope. But I said I would be a huge Kelly Olynyk fan while he's on the Pistons. But for the money he's making, he's got to go. That's all.
I'm still not a Kelly Olynyk fan.
I am.
I liked Kelly when he came to Detroit. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he gave really good minutes, but it's always fuck Kelly Olynyk. Since he was with the Zags, it's always been fuck Kelly Olynyk.
I was gonna go way further, and I didn't even think. Yeah, good. Okay, yeah, keep Duve.
I mean, you guys basically said it. Every single name you said on there except Hamidou Diallo can go.
Well, I mean, do you think though that Jeremy Grant is getting moved? Like, do you think
it's an if not when, or it's a when not if for Jeremy?
Do you really believe that though? Because I was actually having a conversation at work the other day, with someone, and we were talking about this, and I was saying the issue that I'm having is I'm terrified because the Pistons have, constantly year after year after year before we got Troy Weaver, obviously, have put us through just hell with the draft and offseason. I mean, it's been pain with signing signing free agents who don't deserve the money that we give them, or drafting players. I was gonna say Josh Smith and John Lure. And then drafting players who don't deserve it above players who, while yes, a lot of it is retrospect, they were still.
It's not even retrospect.
No. There a lot of it.
We knew at the time.
I'm not talking about everyone. I'm talking about everyone, like every single.
Stanley Johnson, we knew
over D
with who do we pick over Kemba? You just said Brandon Knight. We knew right away.
The pick before.
Who do we pick over Donovan Mitchell? Luke Kennard. We knew right away. I mean,
it
just
was
a tough stretch.
So either way, I'm conflicted because we've been tortured by this franchise over the past 20 years of our lives, and it's hard to not feel that way going into this offseason. But at the same time, when you just bubble it up into the last 2 years, I feel confident going into this offseason, like very confident. So it's this extreme difference in my emotions about this offseason, and I don't know necessarily what's going to happen. And that's why I say with Jeremy Grant, it's like, do we really know that he's not just going to end up staying and signing a $20 million extension? Because I can't actually tell you right now.
I think there's going to be teams that want him enough that's going to make it so Troy Weaver is going to say yes. And I think the biggest thing with Jeremy Grant is, yes, he signed in Detroit to be the number one option in Detroit. And that was the case when we signed him. He was by far our best player when he was signed. But he will never be the best player on even a playoff team. And he's proved that over the last 2 years with the Detroit Pistons not making the playoffs because he was the best player. He will always be the second, third, fourth fiddle on probably a championship team. And I don't think he's going to want to deal with that. Even though he says he loves Detroit, he signed with the city of Detroit because he wanted to play in Detroit.
He's proven it too.
Yeah, he's all for it. But at the end of the day, there's going to be teams that want his services enough. And at the end of the day, it's not up to him whether he gets traded. Like, that's just how the business works. And I think there's going to be a team that will give Troy Weaver an offer he can't refuse.
I like that. I like that. That basically sums up the entire feeling, the confident side of my feelings about that situation. Very well said, Shoot. As we move on with another picture of our.
Who's 13? Who is that? Is that
Darko.
Mehmet Okur?
It's Darko.
No,
It's
it's not.
Oh, that's
It's-
not
it's-
Darko.
It's Darko.
Darko was
I'm like
blonde.
90.
You can't.
Darko
really
was
see his hair.
skinny.
I think
So
Someone-
it's not Darko.
That dude
Someone
has, that
hit-
dude has
someone-
rough arms.
Is someone Googling?
I got it.
All right. I mean, while we're sitting here, we can
I
talk
said
about
Mehmet
real
Okur.
quick. We can have a quick interlude. Did any of you guys get taken to the 04 championship parade as a little kid?
No.
and for that,
We
I'm
will
ashamed.
always be shitty.
Yeah. I wish I was there.
Yeah, we like if there had been
If the
pictures-
Pistons win a championship in the next,
not only are we
I
at,
think
we
I went
are
to a
at-
time.
I think I went to a
That we're all
playoff game
there.
in like
His
2008.
name is Mehmet
I said
Okur.
that. I said
yeah.
that. I said
Boy.
that. I said that first.
yeah,
We
okay.
got you.
People
We
heard
got
me,
you.
right? People heard me.
I
Yeah,
got the
um,
receipts.
Right,
You know what
guys?
makes me more mad
That's
too
Darko.
is my grandpa has a whole set of like clothes from the championship stuff, like the
That's sick.
hat and the t-shirt, whatever.
Where's Darvin
Anyways,
Ham? Is that him in the right?
what are you talking about? Oh,
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham. I don't know.
That is Darvin to the left of Ben Wallace.
Is that him?
That's
Back left. That's Darvin.
Oh, really?
Oh, I
Cool.
think he's the furthest over left.
No,
No,
he's
that's
right
Alvin
behind
King.
Ben Wallace.
That's Tayshawn.
Nah, the
That's
guy.
not-
The
the
guy
guy
he's
to
talking
the
about
left.
he's talking about left
to
direct
the left
behind.
of his
Yeah,
right
Okay.
shoulder.
I can't.
Okay.
We can't. Oh wait, I literally have a cursor.
We
that I
all
could
know
point.
that's Tayshawn.
I literally have a cursor.
We all know that's Tayshawn.
All right. So moving on to the kind of main course aspect of the off season, we have so many aspects, and obviously
A lot of options.
where everyone gets excited during the off season. Now, while I say that, we do have to constantly remind ourselves that we are the Detroit Pistons and we don't get free agency, high free agent options. Now, sign and trades are a different deal. That's a whole different story.
Yep.
But just flat out signing free agents, we always have to remember that. So let's keep that in mind as we go through and try not to do anything crazy. Because there's been some news recently.
What news? What news?
Yeah, just tell the news. Tell the
The
class.
Kyrie news.
Okay.
Is what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah, of
about. I
course.
just
I thought you
didn't
were
want
talking
any
about
of y'all to say
Piston
something
related.
crazy.
I thought you were saying something.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Pistons news.
Oh no.
But look in
Oh.
here. I mean,
Let's just
Top-
take a space.
yep, I'm going top left. I'm starting
All right.
basically the whole top row.
All right.
I think obviously Bankero and Smith are out of the question.
Yeah, ignore the players that are there. That's just the pictures.
A preview of the draft. Okay, I got you.
literally
I think-
anywhere in the draft.
Okay. 4, I think, is out of the question.
Agreed.
And I think 7's out of the question, although I have seen something on Twitter saying that Portland may be interested, but we'd have to low-key give them something else, I think. Because Jeremy Grant for 7's not happening. And that's why I think our best option is that free agent big man right there in the top right corner. Give him the max.
Give him
Just
the
send
max.
it. Just send it.
And
Because-
put the ball in his court.
Like you were just saying, there's not this many opportunities for Detroit to get a big name free agent. So this is our time, and that's our guy.
Agreed. And I'm gonna give a quick spiel about getting free agents really quick. Real quick. Someone said, and I think it was Kukulio, so I do want to give him a shout out. That's a Pistons.
out.
That's a Pistons guy for Lockdown Pistons. But he said basically something along the lines of rebuilding teams and teams like the Pistons who are not major free agent destinations have to find stars in the original way it was intended through the draft. We have to take home runs on guys like Jaden Ivey, Shaden Sharp, people like that, because we can't get it anywhere else. So remember, Pistons, we're not trying to get a role player here. This is big time. We need someone to pair next to Cade as that guy. And that's why, and we'll get to it with 5, but that's why I'm concerned about us not having an additional pick. And that's why I would also maybe say go for a 14, a 13, something like that. Some late lottery.
That's where Jeremy
One of the
Grant
Charlotte
is.
picks.
That you could potentially, like, even if it's a team
Absolutely.
that owns
Yeah.
one of those picks, you might be looking at a 3-team trade where you get the Pistons end up getting the pick, Jeremy Grant goes somewhere else, and that team who's giving up the pick gets some other piece that might help them in the future, or a future first-round pick. But I'm looking at the Pistons salary cap for this upcoming off season, and this off season is going to be gigantic because Blake Griffin is officially off the books.
Finally.
He's officially off the books. Josh Smith has been off the books. They're still paying DeAndre Jordan $8 million next year. That's unfortunate. But including that $8 million and the $2 million they waived in stretch with Dwayne Dedmon, they only have $85 million committed to the current roster, and that includes everyone coming on team options. You have Jeremy Grant's $20 million, which might be getting traded anyway for draft picks, which would not even out the salary. Kelly Olynyk's $12 million, which I think might be difficult to trade just because he's got another 12 after that. Cade Cunningham's $10 million from being the number 1 overall pick. Corey Joseph $5 million, and then all team options: Killian Hayes $5 million, Hammy $5 million, Beef Stew, Frank Jackson, and Sadiq all about 3, and then Saban Lee and Isaiah Livers 1.7, and then Carson Edwards 1.8. They can do whatever they want with those team options. I think most of them, if not all of them, are being accepted.
Yeah.
But that leaves $85 million. Like, that's $85 million if you accept all those team options. And the salary cap's what, like 130, 140?
Yeah, it's
like
two,
that's a lot of
it's
money.
almost 2 maxes.
And what I'll say about that is they're going to have to consider, depending on how many long-term deals they give out this summer, what the plan is with these young guys that we talked about earlier, because they're all going to be due for a contract next year, which means you can't spend all 60 million.
Yeah.
So they, like, before they make any move in the free agency, at least, like, set aside the draft, they need to decide, is Sadiq Bey worth $25 million? Is Beef Stew worth $18 million? How much is Killian Hayes worth? What'd you say?
Nothing.
Those are the biggest questions. I think DeAndre Ayton will always be worth that max contract. I'm sorry for rambling a little bit. I think that is the number 1 priority. I think you take your pick at 5. You hope it's a home run, like you were saying, like Kukalil was saying, like the Pistons hope it's a home run. And DeAndre Ayton is the Vegas favorite to land in Detroit for a reason. Vegas always knows. Vegas always knows. Like,
the whisper.
It's not just fanfare. Like, Vegas knows. Like, they all, like, I don't know how they know. Like, when they set a run line, like, or a puck line at like 6.5, and it's always 6. Like, shots on goal, like 4.5, and it's always 4. Like, they know always. I don't know how. I don't know why, but they always know. And I think, like, the Pistons, like, getting DeAndre Ayton is not just like fans hoping it and like wishing it. I think it's gonna happen. Then it's
I hope so.
It's about building around those 1-2.
I'll say this. This might be rambling a bit, but there's somebody in Vegas who has who is Biff and has the almanac. And just they place it like that for every game. But I agree. I think we have to make a splash. We have the money for it, finally. So it's all about making the right next move, because Weaver knows, like, there's a lot of different directions to go in. So I think making the right next move is the most important one going forward.
Absolutely. And that's why the last little board on this is him.
The future.
Because while we can say Cade Cunningham is the piece, and while we can say Sadiq Bey is a future star, And while we can say this and that about the 5 pick, the man who has put this all together, the man who has given us these opportunities to be able to be in the position to sign and trade for a DeAndre and possibly a Miles Bridges, who we haven't talked about. And I'm curious, I put up a picture of Malik Monk here. And, obviously Jalen Brunson is an option. I don't think it's that realistic.
No.
Do you guys put any stock into, this guard forward conversation? Or are you guys locked in at DeAndre? And do you think that's what your mind is on? You're not interested in the Jalen Brunson, the Malik Monk, the Miles Bridges. Who else? There was one
I
other.
think it's if the price is right.
Yeah.
I will say I see
Mitchell
re-signing.
Robinson.
I don't know if I'm going over too far, but if they can get Marvin Bagley for $13 million a year or less, I'm all for it.
We're kind of just jumping around.
Yeah, I see
I kinda
Marvin
like-
Bagley on the screen. I liked what we
kinda
saw
like
from
10.
him. If we can get him for 13 mil per year or less, I'm all for it.
I would love 10. I'm
10,
not gonna
yeah.
lie.
A 4-year 40. How would you feel about a 4-year 40?
Ooh.
A 3-year
The team
30?
option after 2.
They would never do that.
2 and 2.
They
Give me
would
2 and
never
2.
do that.
Because he's very injury prone, dude. And we can't just have if he gets injured, we're $10 million sitting there that we need to pay. Sadiq and Cade.
Marvin wants his money. That's how he
He
operates.
4
He
years,
does.
33.
4 years, 33, about 8 mil a year.
That would be nice.
I think
would love that.
Marvin might do that just because
Whatever
that's like
we
the
owe
long-term
DeAndre
security.
Ayton, give it to him. 8 something.
Um,
But real quick about Malik Monk and Miles Bridges. I think it has to be Ayton. I think it has to be Ayton. And the only way I want Malik Monk or Miles Bridges is if we get Ayton and then sign and trade Jeremy Grant for one of them. So we're not spending
gonna
that much
say,
money.
if we can sign and trade, if Grant is being exchanged for a Brunson or Bridges, I'm all for it. But
Yeah.
if it's a totally separate move, I don't know.
So on that note, on it being a separate move, so the way it would be with DeAndre in is we can actually make the majority of our signings before we do the DeAndre in sign and trade. I believe it's around 15 to 20 mil that we have to work
So
around
you want to
with.
sign and trade 8 for want to sign and trade
The
Grant for
Suns,
8?
the Suns won't let him
Yeah,
walk.
no,
for
I'm
free.
saying, the Suns only want Jeremy Grant. For them to do a sign and trade, that would mean
they would give
Yeah,
us a
that
first
they
round
would-
pick.
Absolutely.
they have to have something back. And Jeremy Grant's really the only thing I think that they
Yeah.
would want as a contender.
Okay.
But we can do a little bit with our money before we do that if we are locked in. Troy Weaver's locked in with a sign and trade with DeAndre, and we can go and let's say Malik Monk wants a $12 to $15 million a year contract. We could give that to him if we choose to,
I'm not
and then also go doing the sign and trade. We can do both of those things.
We have
That's
a lot
why
of
I
money.
say
That's
that.
what I was saying. I was saying we have a
But
lot of money.
if you
to work.
guys think, which I kind of agree with, that the best move is to focus on DeAndre, and if there's something super affordable that pops up, take it. But focus on DeAndre and then keep it pushing.
But that was
Yeah.
my
Next year.
point. If you give like 35 mil to Ayton, 28 to Jalen Brunson, and 25 to Miles Bridges, like this is all like that's what they would be getting at least. Like, where does that leave guys like Sadiq Bey, Beef Stew, Killian Hayes, like the young pieces who are already established on our roster when they're going to need an extension in 1 year? That's the issue. If you like, because they're, in my opinion, they're not one piece away from a championship. I don't think that's a hot take. They're not 2 pieces away from a championship. So if you make a move, say you acquire Ayton and Bridges or Ayton and Brunson, like that doesn't propel them to championship status. Like this is not a 1 year thing. Obviously, no one's saying
fully
it
agree
is.
with you.
No
And
one's
this
saying it
kind
is,
of
but you cannot just shell out the money just because, oh, we're not going to get anything in return, or, oh, they want to come to Detroit, or, oh, he's a good player, because you have to think long term here.
And that's just what I wanted to emphasize, is there's a lot of people that don't think about that.
And my thing is with Brunson, Bridges, Malik Monk, I'm kind of focused in on Ivy or Sharp right now at 5. So
Yeah, why
this
don't we
could
start talking about the draft
lead
a
us
little
into
bit?
our
let's-
conversation
Yeah, let's
about
wrap this
5
up
here.
and talk about pick 5, which is the
which
most
is
important
going
part.
to happen now.
Another Ben Wallace interlude.
Yeah.
So here we go.
I don't
Here we
know.
go. We got our
I
picks
think-
here. Now this is not everyone, obviously. Real quick, Mindy, just do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Preview. This is not everyone, obviously, who the Pistons are looking at. Troy Weaver did say today, which obviously could be a lie since it's Troy Weaver. He lies a lot. He said there's 7 to 9 guys that he's looking at that he likes in this draft. So obviously 4 is not all encompassing. There are many other people that he's looking at. We don't really know. He
Believe
didn't
him.
release, the Pistons since signing Troy Weaver have not released any draft workout information. They really just do the interviews afterwards. And if if the prospect chooses to let us know, they let us know. These are the guys that I think are most likely to be picked at 5 for
Absolutely.
us. So that's why I put them here. And I also think these are the guys that I like the most at 5. I don't know about Keegan Murray, but still. Anyone
Yeah.
get started, pick a prospect, doesn't matter. We'll start with that guy, whoever you guys pick.
Yeah, let me just wrap up what I was saying before.
my
I don't
bad.
want Brunson, I don't want Bridges, and I don't want Malik Monk because of our first 2 guys, Ivy and Sharp. And we have to extend Sadiq. I think the only way, if Troy Weaver really is like, all right, let's win now, which I don't agree with. But the best lineup we could possibly put on the floor come in the fall, come tip off, would be Cunningham, Brunson, or Bridges, probably Brunson, and then Keegan Murray, Sadiq, and Ayton. So the only way I want Keegan Murray is if we trade for like a 7 or sign one of these guys. Otherwise, I don't know. I think Sadiq already has that small forward role locked up.
I think Keegan can kind of play as an undersized, or as a 4. He's 6'8".
He is 6'8".
He's an
young,
undersized
forward
bulk
for
up.
sure.
I wouldn't
don't
even
think
say
he
That's what I was
undersized.
saying with the lineup with Brunson
Like, who's the 4
or
for the Pistons?
Malik.
Jeremy's not going to be
Jeremy Grant, because
Yeah,
we saw
exactly.
that Sadiq was better at the 4 than Jeremy.
Yeah.
there. Sadiq can
We
play
saw
2 through
Marvin
4.
was better at the 4 than Jeremy.
Yeah, it also depends if Marvin's
He
gonna
was
be
also
there.
better at the 5 than Stu. But I think one thing as well, that's important, now that we have Cade Cunningham, a 6'6", big guard, you have to kind of take advantage of that. You have a tall guard, why not match, or at least, keep height throughout the lineup. You want to have your starting lineup, you want to have your closing lineup be completely able to not guard 1 through 5, but if you get in a mismatch, with a 5, you're not completely getting automatically scored on. You're not an automatic liability if the best scorer on the other team is matched up against you. Like, it's, I think that's something as a franchise, as a team, that we really need to take advantage of moving into these, next years. But let's just pick a guy. Let's start with Jaden Ivey. I know a lot of you guys like Jaden Ivey.
If he's there, we need him. I think it's for a foregone conclusion that not necessarily in this order, but Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, and Paolo Banchero will go 1 through 3, and 4 is when it starts to get a little dicey, is when things might change. I think it's a very likely Jaden Ivey does go at 4, but if Sacramento does pass on him, which it's also, I believe Jaden Ivey said he did not work out with Sacramento. Now that
only worked out
he only
for
worked out
for Indiana and us.
I thought he said Orlando and us.
Oh, Orlando and us. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
And
Orlando. And us. I don't know why I was
Orlando,
thinking
unless Orlando's
Indiana.
trading back, they're not taking him at 1. So Jaden Ivey, if the Kings, unless the
That would. Oh my God!
like, I am
We're
We're
talking
ready.
throwing
guy.
the bag at Sacramento.
I'm ready for Jaden Ivey to be a Piston. And I also want to say, this is completely off topic, but I was looking, I didn't do nearly enough draft prep for this. And so
Okay.
I just looked up just a random mock draft from NBAdraft.net. And somehow whoever made this thinks Caleb Houston's going in the first round.
Oh God.
I don't know about that.
I
Come
don't know
on.
about that.
I don't
And
know about that.
The cherry on top of that is he has Max Christie going the pick ahead of him.
I've seen a lot of people actually putting Max Christie in the first round.
I
and
love
I'm like,
Max Christie, but he did not play well enough to garner
Shouts out
first round
Christie.
status. I love him.
Yeah, but
Should have come back.
not a
Should've
first
stayed
round
with
pick.
Houston. That's off topic, but yeah, Jaden Ivey, please.
Yeah, Jaden.
I agree. If he's there, you take him because he's too good.
Reportedly, and we'll get to Keegan Murray, but reportedly the Kings set up a dinner between Keegan Murray, De'Aaron Fox, and Domantas Sabonis. And it did happen.
We
not
love
just
that.
set up. That did happen.
Keegan Murray's been talking up the Kings organization too. I think Keegan Murray's a really good player. Honestly, if I were to rank, I don't know nearly anything about Benedict, to be honest with you.
we
I
can
think it's
get
gonna be
into.
sick.
Really
I
good.
don't
We can-
even- yeah.
Do you want me to give you my pros and cons for each player?
Yeah, I
we'll
mean,
kinda
we're
go
already
that.
running long on time, but give us the quick
I'll give you a quick
breakdown.
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Jaden Ivey is probably going to be if we're looking back in 5 years and saying, wow, I can't believe he was picked higher, Jaden Ivey's probably going to be that guy. He has that John Wall, John Morant, Russell Westbrook athleticism. I'm going to
Shoot.
run right at you and just dunk on you in the fast break. You guys have mentioned it a lot. He didn't have great surrounding cast, especially at the guard position. So spacing was a huge issue for him, or not for him, but, against him. And going to the NBA, obviously, where spacing is the biggest priority in the game, that will be a huge advantage for him, hopefully, finally being able to have a lot more open floor. And while he is slightly bigger, you see he's got that slightly larger frame at 6'4", decent wingspan. I couldn't find the wingspan, so that's why there's nothing listed. Or at least I think I could, whatever. But yeah, the questions with him are more on the defensive end, while that could just be an effort thing that we're just not seeing yet
6'9".
because he has to get there. 6'9", thank you.
It says 6'7" to 6'9", but yeah.
Okay. So, definitely an interesting prospect, something, someone to look at depending on what the Kings do. Number 2, Shaedon Sharpe. This is in my opinion, the guy. I think he is the one who just has the most star potential realistically out of anyone we can pick at 5. He's got a lot of creativity to his offensive game, good ball handling ability. The creation, especially for teammates, hasn't really been seen yet, but obviously he's only been in high school and AAU and, in different circuits. So we haven't seen him at the professional quote unquote level. So those are definitely some questions around that. And then defensively, he has the tools. He's a 6'6" guard, big frame, similar to we see with Jaden Ivey, where it definitely looks like he can grow on some muscle. The thing with him is he's got those small measurables that we see in players like Kawhi, where he's got that 6'11" wingspan, big hands. Those are the things where you look at a play and you're like, ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
What is that NA under the 6'11" wingspan?
That's for stats.
Okay.
No stats.
Oh,
I couldn't find his high school stats.
Keegan
Murray. Keegan Murray is a 6'8" forward, probably more of a 4 in the NBA. Not super mobile, especially when we're talking about lateral quickness on the defensive end. Especially if he's in the NBA, we're talking about a very switchable or switch heavy defenses. I wouldn't really trust him to move onto any 2s or 3s. He was the leading scorer was it the whole of the NCAA last year?
Keegan Murray.
I don't even know.
10 maybe.
He was the
Maybe
Big
that's
Ten,
the
or sorry,
probably.
the Big Ten. Yeah, he was the leading scorer in the Big Ten.
Okay.
Sophomore
Competitive Big Ten
season,
Player of the Year.
I believe.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
He really does a lot on the floor. He fills those little holes. He does basically everything that you would ask a forward to do on the floor. He can shoot threes, he can cut, he can finish at the cup with some athleticism. He can play decent defense. He's intelligent on that end, although there are some lapses. The shooting percentages are good, but the question is, and forget the age, I don't want to talk about that. That's a stupid argument.
Oh shit.
The ceiling is really not the roof. I don't know what that means. I just felt like saying it, but it
Ceiling
doesn't,
is
it's
not the
like
roof.
you can't draft a Keegan Murray expecting him to be more than what Keegan Murray is when you're looking at him right now. You see what I'm saying?
You think he's peaked already? Yeah, let's
I
get
don't think
Johnny
he's peaked
Davis.
already, but I think what we've seen.
Oh yeah, he did win Big Ten Player of the Year.
You're right. Damn. What you've seen
He
with
probably
Keegan
outscored him,
Murray's
too.
skill,
Which is nuts
and
over Ivy and Murray. Keep going. Sorry.
you're good. What you've seen in Keegan
our
Murray's
Johnny.
skill and competency wise on the floor is what you're going to get in the NBA. I don't see much room for improvement. Benedict Mathurin, this is the guy that I see improving the most in the NBA. I think the spacing and opportunities that the NBA will offer him as a ball handler and things like that, if he goes to the right team, will be huge for him. This is a guy who played primarily off the catch at Zona, but he has said over and over and over going into the draft that he has constantly been trying to expand his game, his ability, continued ability off the ball, but primarily on the ball, looking to improve his ball handling and creation for his teammates. Very, very interesting prospect. If the Pistons draft him, I'm extremely happy. Those are my pros and cons.
All right.
Based off that, let's just go with this.
Go
right
for
to
it,
it.
Shu.
Who should we pick at number 5? Shoot.
Thank you for those pros and cons.
Ivy.
Just a quick question for you, Dove. Did you consider that quick?
Hmm?
Did you consider that quick?
Not at all. Not even
Okay.
slightly. I
Just
I
so we're
had
on the
to.
same page.
I don't think I could have made it any quicker.
In all honesty, I really only needed the Benedict because I know Ivy and Murray. I watched a shit ton of Big Ten basketball, and I know about Shadon. I just asked about Benedict. But you know what? Let's do them all. But you were in the zone. I didn't want to interrupt you. But like I said,
you should have.
Jaden
Okay.
Ivey is the boy. Like Duville said, Jaden Ivey's the boy.
If Jaden Ivey's there, it's him. I'm not gonna lie, there's a small part of me that wants him to be gone. So we pick Shadon because there's just so much potential there. But best comes to best. This isn't looking likely. But if we package Jeremy for pick 7 from the Blazers, I want ideally Ivy or Sharp and then Mathurin at 7. And then I'm ecstatic.
So happy. So happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want Ivy, and if Ivy's not there, give me Benedict. He's gonna be great. Remember that name. And I hate Ohio State, but
Fact.
shouts out Malachi Branham. He's gonna be something special.
If we get the Hornets pick, that's who I had as if we get the Hornets pick. I would lot of really interesting prospects here. Obviously, there's a lot of questions as to what the Pistons will actually do when it comes to draft night. Troy Weaver is a mysterious man who loves to keep his cards close to his chest. We've tried our best to try to sum as much as this offseason up. Obviously, free agency is kind of a gamble. We don't
This won't be the
know
last
what
time
they're
we're
going
talking
to
about the
do.
Detroit Pistons.
And yes, this is not ever, it's never going to be the last time. It never will.
The day after draft night, we'll be right back.
Yeah, literally the day after draft night. Possibly, I might even post something draft night. But this is an experiment. This is a ramble, by the way, just to close it off. So if you guys are listening on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, if you guys don't want to hear this, whatever, you guys can click off, leave a like, subscribe. We really appreciate you guys listening.
Wait, let me say one more thing.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Just with all the Big Ten basketball talk, shouts out Johnny Davis, shouts out ZD, and that's all I got.
That's out Joshua.
Yeah, leave a like, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Let us know how we did at Hustlin' Hoops everywhere, every single place.
3 days, boys. 3 days.
But yeah, let us know what you guys think about this format. If you guys want to see some more of these off-season previews that are coming anyways, but let us know. Have a good one, y'all.
Peace.